Welcome back to the channel. Today we want to talk about pitch banter. I have very amazing guests here with me. My name is Mark, and let me start off to my right because this is a very big enemy in football terms. I have Albo on the right, big Manchester United fan. I can't say the same about the person on my left because he supports a small team. KD on my left, and Josh, Liverpool fan. Of course, a Man City fan, KD. I'm very happy to see you guys. Hope you guys are good.
Yeah, we're well.
Amazing.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, amazing. We want to just talk about pitch banter, but also talk about the rules of the game. Football in this sense, right? Of course, we had 4 different teams represented here. I hope you guys are going to represent your teams well. And thank you for tuning in. Please keep in touch with us. We have a very exciting conversation. Starting off, I want to know from you guys, starting with you, Albo, who is the greatest manager in the Premier League right now? Or who is the best?
I'm glad you asked that question, and I'm delighted to be in this show to be able to answer that question. So it goes without saying, the best manager at the moment in the Premier League is none other than the recent coach of the month, Mr. Eric Ten Hag.
That is interesting. You had to bring in that angle of coach of the month. Well, I didn't say you've been manager of the month. But anyways, why do you think so? And I mean, what's about Ten Hag and his strategies you like?
Good question. Not biased. The first time I heard about Ten Hag, I quickly rushed to YouTube and to check more about him, to understand who he is, what's his style of play, who is he about, because I tend to look at character more than just the outside. And I could see Ten Hag commanding at the touchline. I could see him commanding the players to be professional, to demand the best from them. And honestly, his first impression when he came to Manchester United, he went to the boardrooms, at the stands, he was greeting everybody. A handshake, a firm handshake. And that told me a lot about him. One, he's a people's person. And secondly, first time in Carrington at the training ground, he was telling Sancho and Zidane, put the ball on the ground, Zidane. And I could clearly know that this person is going to bring the best out of people, plus he's friendly. Yeah.
Interesting to know. But it's also very interesting that at the beginning of the season, when he started with 3 losses in a row, he needed 10 hugs, right? Anyways, Josh, who is the greatest manager or the best manager in the Premier League right now?
Don't be biased.
I think to clearly spell out the greatest manager, you have to look at different things. Not to be biased, I'm a Liverpool fan, but if you ask me, I think one of the best managers that the Premier League has right now is Pep Guardiola. And I think the top reason would be adaptability. I think in terms of changing games and depending on the situation, and not only changing games, but also winning in the long run, because just look at the last 4 or 5 years, Pep and Klopp have been the top managers, really, keeping each other on toes. But as much as they're the best managers, but Pep has an edge in terms of adaptability. Is able to adapt his games to make sure he's always winning. So, yeah.
Amazing. What about you, KD? You think Arteta is the best?
No. I think I agree with my.
Of course, you had to agree.
Yeah, it's rival. It is Pep Guardiola because clearly your manager worked under our manager. Your manager worked under our manager.
Fair enough.
Some of our players are helping Arsenal be at the top. So I think we can clearly see that, and it's amazing how he makes a team play so well. Adaptable football. I personally love the possession. It's what I use in FIFA. In terms of mentoring players, in terms of the consistency, the manager who cannot be sacked. Yeah, so I think that's really amazing. He still wants more. I'm sure right now he's saying, no, how can I still improve? I can be better than the best.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing about him.
And I agree completely. I think I side with them that Pep is definitely the best. There's no way Ten Hag can be the best. No way. At least as long as I'm hosting this show. Anyways.
And like Spurs, I guess we'll walk alone.
I think for Ten Hag, he's still a young.
No, he's like 50 what?
Young best coach.
No. In terms of managing, there's managing the other leagues and there's managing the Premier League. He's only been here.
Yeah, let's give him time.
Yeah, we give him like
2 years before he's sacked.
Yes,
Oh, sorry.
yes, and few bits about that.
No.
Interesting. I just love to just pick your thoughts as well on something else. On discipline and values in football. Of course, we know football is a very high-heated game, but also you need a lot of discipline to perform at the highest level, especially in the Premier League. We all are here and we have players in our teams that perform at the highest level. But for them to get to that level, there's a certain level of discipline they actually have to get to.
Yeah.
The training, the waking up early, the eating habits. Well, personally, I've tried gym and I'm not consistent, so I know how hard that can be. But I don't know. What's the place for values and discipline in football? I don't know. But what do you think?
Good question. I think values and discipline and ethics are very key in a game of football, because football is not just about skills, showing off. It's also about teamwork. And to be able to achieve teamwork, you need discipline. You need examples like you need to be able to not be selfish. That's an ethic. You need to be a team player. So when you're a team player, you're able to pass the ball, you're able to look up and follow the manager's instructions. One common instruction is look up, look at the options that you have, so that you're able to achieve the main goal, which is score a goal or give an assist. So discipline is very key. Secondly, it helps you with consistency in the training ground. It goes without saying, the greatest of all time, the GOAT Ronaldo, each and every, not being biased, each and every player who's trained with him, they normally testify that Ronaldo, you'll find him fast in the training ground, you'll train with him, and you'll leave him in the training ground. I remember Higuain said that, Aguero said that, and also the young lads at Manchester testified about that. And even in the normal debates of Messi and Ronaldo, who's the greatest, people normally say that Ronaldo is disciplined. So discipline helps you stay consistent in the training ground as well, not just during a match, and also how you communicate with your peers. Don't say that I'm the best, I won't listen to you. Yeah, so those are some of the things that I believe.
No, I think that's fantastic. I just get on to you straight, KD. Haaland, his physique, he's 21. To get to that level, you need something. You need some extra work. There's raw talent. We don't refuse, but there's an element of that hard work, that discipline. What would you comment on the same?
I think let's first start by looking at the behavior of the Chelsea fan who was supposed to come and didn't. A purported big team. Wow, we should have discipline to come to these things when we are needed.
That's right.
Number two, about Haaland, I think there are two sides to the story. Obviously, discipline and hard work in a Pep team is necessary. No one survives. We saw it in 2017 when people went by force. I think the first side is he's always concentrating. I think if you hear the pundits in a City team, we always have the ball, and he's not in the midfield helping with the passes. So for him to always be ready when it's needed, I think that's an amazing thing. So it's mental, it's also athletic. He's really quick, really strong, fast, and he concentrates. So I think that's amazing. So City will create for you 200 or so chances in a game because of the quality of the passes. So I think that's the other side. A team that creates for you chances, and you yourself making sure that you're always ready when the ball comes. So I think that's an element of it. And it's also a bit different. We are seeing another side to Pep. He always said, I would sign 10 midfielders if I would. But now he's signed a number 9, not a false 9.
Yeah.
So I think that's also a thing. He's adapted his game. He found a player who could fit in a new system. And so I think that's brilliant. I think we are waiting to smash all of you. We already hat-trick Pale. Waiting for... Unfortunately, they defended well, but we are waiting
they
for...
slapped you guys.
Yeah, we were the
It
better
should have
team.
been like
No, no,
5
no, no,
or
no.
6.
Haaland reminds me of online shopping. He delivers. I'll give him that.
Crazy.
I
Interesting.
think you need to talk to Gomez and Van Dijk, you know. They basically pocketed Haaland
Yep.
last Sunday.
Well,
so,
I think they released him on Friday because what he did yesterday, man.
Yeah.
Anyways,
no doubt.
And Van Dijk.
Anyways, of course, we have Saliba, so I mean, definitely, not only pocket him, but pocket him for months. You
Who is
understand?
Saliba, my friend? What are you talking about?
Great. Anyways, we're talking about Arsenal. There's something I want to just nudge you guys about, and toxicity in dressing rooms. Now, you've just talked about Ronaldo. He just walked off the pitch the other day. Crazy to see the kind of, from especially a senior player, like him, the stature of Ronaldo and all that. He not only left, but he left the dressing room. He left. In fact, I don't know if you saw a meme that's going around of of GTA. And anyways, so I mean, does that show toxicity in a dressing room? I remember we had something like that in Arsenal when we had Oba as well. Being a bad influence. The captain is coming late and all that. I mean, does that, especially for young players, teams with young players, for us, okay, you guys haven't had a lot of that from your teams, but I mean, from us,
Because
it
you're
has
the
been,
best, You have Klopp, and that's one thing that Klopp is very good at.
at least one thing I like about Ten Hag, he said every era comes to an end, and we're seeing an era coming to an end, right? Anyways, about toxicity, I mean, how do you deal with toxic nature in a dressing room? You guys have a bit of experience. Maybe tell us the people who have suffered with that kind of thing. I think we've handled it well, though, especially our managers. But how Josh, do you think toxicity in a dressing room can be handled?
I think.
And generally in life.
Yeah, I think Albert talked about teamwork, and there's no way you can have a good teamwork and still have toxic players, because you have to be one thing even before you get to the pitch, before you get to training. You have to make sure you are building your chemistry, and once any player, as much as you are talented, there's no, okay, you are good and talented and all that, but you have to be humble and realize you're only the best, Let's talk about Alan because, rising star. You only get to score as many goals as Alan does because of the rest of the team. There's no way he's a star without KDB and the rest. There's no way Mo Salah will be scoring all those goals without Alisson. And that's where good managers like Klopp comes in. And one thing that Klopp has made sure in Liverpool, there's no big player per se, and I think that's also one of our policies when it comes to buying players. And that also comes from the kind of players we buy. Liverpool, when they are buying players, we look a lot at their character, the kind of person they are, and then of course their talent. But with character comes discipline, what we are talking about. I think talking about discipline, I have to give a shout out to Kipchoge. In this day and age, you can't talk about discipline without mentioning Kipchoge, So discipline any day beats talent. And once you put discipline first, teamwork comes naturally because we are all working together. We understand we are in this together. I think.
And I really like that. And you've brought up something that I actually wanted to just highlight on teamwork. And I really feel it's important to actually have good teamwork and a good dressing room. Generally in a football team, you need a good dressing room because that environment alone helps breed on and off the pitch. You know, you need to build those kind of relationships on and off the pitch, so that you know that I'm looking out for so and so. I don't know, because okay, ideally in the last few years, well, we've experienced it years ago, but in the last few years, you guys have actually really experienced it at a high level, especially for you at City, and you know, it has brought success. What would you say about the level of teamwork and how really it's important to actually have everyone on board, build those relationships on and off the pitch to avoid a toxic environment, especially, you know, in this context, you know, so that, because there's a level of professionalism there, right?
I think it's very important. I think one of the reasons I love City is because Pep deals with a lot of teamwork. For his system to work, it needs a lot of teamwork. I remember Henry saying on a channel that he draws lines across the pitch, and then you have to stick to the position. So I remember Henry said, I left the left wing and went to the right wing to Messi so that I would score. And he scored. But they took him off at halftime.
Wow.
Because he left the system.
Wow.
So I think that's so important to, in any sphere of life, I think teamwork is so important. I think it's very unfortunate what we saw at Arsenal a few years ago with AFTV and the likes, the amount of insulting happening, booing of your own player. I think that's very damaging, especially to a man. You're giving your all to a team that disrespects you. Thank God for that guy. He managed to stay and he's having a good season this time. But I think it's very critical because we are a team, and if we have a philosophy and we believe in each other, and also teamwork maximizes on people's strengths. An example of toxicity we've seen is at PSG.
Yeah.
Selfishness becomes their greatest downfall, even with all the talent.
That's right.
So I think for Pep, there's a really good example of patience, teamwork, and even when they lose, they lost fighting. In the game City lost, they lost fighting.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important. Every team should surely. I mean, we've entered into an era of football where an individual talent is not the game changer. It's a team that sticks together. I think we've seen it in Brentford, we've seen it in Brighton, teams we may not mention too often, but we admire something.
Newcastle as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though they are being state-funded.
Yeah, state project.
It's a state project.
Yeah. I think also talking of good teams, as in a shout out to Union Berlin in Bundesliga. I think it's doing so well right now.
Amazing. Albo, anything the same?
I'll define something toxic as, in the context of this convo, as something that jeopardizes the system or the goal or welfare of the system. And I'll use 2 to 3 examples. One, I'm reminded of, and especially in the dressing room, and how important it is to deal with it. So for people who deal with bacteria and viruses, they first identify where the problem is. You get, because you're not able to solve a problem without identifying it. So first diagnose and identify where the problem is. And I'm reminded of another great legend from Manchester, number 7 on the back, Edison Cavani.
Legend. Have you just called him a legend?
Legend. While still playing, he's that good. So while he was in PSG, there was a time they were from playing Champions League football, and Cavani noticed something weird. They had just beaten Barca in the first leg, and Cavani went to the dressing room after a win and used black tape and put on the wall humility, but in his language. And I was watching this on a YouTube channel, and Cavani was telling people, be humble and you'll go far. And I'm not sure if they took it seriously, because we all understand Champions League history happened during the second leg of PSG versus Barcelona. The world stood, they couldn't believe it, you know. Secondly was a match I was watching yesterday from another great team I support. It just so happened that I support great teams, Real Madrid. I was listening to the commentator, and he was mentioning that Modric, another legend, just so happens that I'm surrounded with legends, kept telling Vinicius Jr., pass the ball. Pass the ball. We understand you're skilled. We understand that you're good. You want to be the best, but you'll only shine when you pass the ball, and us will pass the ball to you so that you shine. And the commentator was saying it appears that Modric's word reached Vinicius, because yesterday Vinicius literally assisted 2 goals. He had the opportunity to score. He was one-on-one with the keeper, but he literally assisted. That's not the Vinicius I knew back then. And if you know, Vinicius has been having a good run this season. So I would say identifying the problem and calling out in the dressing room is something key. And I hate to end with this, but Arsenal, I hate to say that I spent a few minutes watching the documentary, and I'll take responsibility and say they did a good job in the dressing room. I watched the players listening to the coach and them listening to their mistakes, some of the things they were doing, and them calling out each other, Shaka leading the room. And I hate to say this, but you can see the ramifications of having such conversations at the moment.
I mean, and that's why I think I'm the only one who should have a bottle on top of the table. Anyways, humility. Yes, humility will take you far. I need to be humble. Anyways, I mean, I agree with you, because I've seen it as well, even in our team. You know, we had a very toxic environment. You know, we had the big player mentality, and I think that's something that the top managers have actually taught us, that you shouldn't have a big player mentality there. It's about the team. You know, what you do, your runs, you know, you make a run there and actually create space for someone who has the ball to actually get into that space and score. So it's not about you, it's actually what can we do as a collective. So I really agree with you. I think just generally, just in life, you know, the key things that you've just mentioned, I think you just mentioned that element of humility, the element of teamwork, and actually looking out for one another. I think that goes far, not only just in football, but just in life, in workspaces that we're in. So, you know, so I mean, I agree with you completely. And I mean, I think it just brings me to that last point. You know, football is a really emotional game. All of us are here and are involved in the same, and I'm personally a very emotional fan. You should see me when I'm celebrating goals and taking knee slides, and you know, as if I'm on a pitch. You know, so I have a couple of bruises, of course, but and screaming and losing my voice. You know, but it's an emotional game. Imagine this is just for us as the fans, but on the pitch as well, it's so emotional that there's a lot of fights that break out on the pitch. There's a lot of conflict. You know, we've seen last season we just had so many red cards, just due to, of course, indiscipline, but also just not taking advantage of moments where you have to keep a cool head, you know, and moments where you have to actually just go down and actually, you know, just stay calm and stay on the pitch, keep the game going and all that. You know, recently Klopp got a red card because of not handling conflict the right way, went and screamed. He almost ate the referee's face off, you know.
That is debatable.
In fact, we should start with you. I mean, what do you think, first of all, about that incident, and how do you think you would have handled it better?
I think if we know Klopp, that's his default, you know.
Persona.
Yeah. So being very passionate and energetic, I don't see anything wrong with that, you know, because just to be fair, Pep does the same thing, you know, and there's no problem in doing that. I think Tuchel used to do the same thing. So I think the ref was a bit quick to, you know, give the red card. If anything, he should have just given a yellow card, you know, just a warning. Anyway.
But it's shouting at a referee.
Maybe it's something he said.
That is
They
big.
do it every day.
I'm sure there's something that was said there that was heavy.
Perhaps that's something we don't know. And maybe we'll
But the red
never
card
know.
showed us that something was said.
Anyway, that aside. Yeah, back to your question, and you're asking about...
And just on handling conflict, basically.
Yeah, conflict. I think conflict will always be there, but I think it takes really good leaders to navigate conflict. And just talking about football, I think some of our best managers are the ones who have been able to handle because I think the major conflict, especially in the team setup, always comes up where there is, this big player mentality, and it takes really good managers to be able to tell a big player to, calm down, to punish them, like what was done with the CR7 recently. We don't want to talk a lot about that, but that was really good
management. Yeah,
yes, yeah. And I think at some point in Liverpool we saw that, because there was a time when Mo Salah was too stingy with the ball, and Mane was complaining. So even Mane went out of out of his nature and was complaining even from the pitch side about Mo Salah and all that. But from that time we haven't seen anything like that, So I think for me to manage conflict, it comes first of all from the leader, and the leader has to take the step in making sure that conflict is handled well, and that it's okay to have conflict. It's okay to be passionate, because passion, I think, goes hand in hand with motivation, because when you're passionate, you're motivated,
Yeah.
But it also takes a good balance of passion and discipline to be able to be sober, Yes, you need passion to get going, but you also need to be sober when it comes to handling conflict.
I mean, that's interesting. I think I pick up a key point: leadership. Leadership is very important. For us to be able to handle conflict at any point in time, and especially in a dressing room that has big characters, and not only in dressing rooms. I believe we've worked in places, or we work in places. You have people who have made it. They have, a master's and a PhD or something, and you have to. There's a certain way they would want to be addressed and held to high regard and all that, and probably you have conflict with them, and it becomes an issue. But I think it comes back to leadership, but I think even importantly, self-leadership, right? Yeah. KD, what do you have to say about the same?
I think what he's saying is so important, because I don't know if you've been in a situation where you're fighting with someone, but you have to work with that person.
Yeah.
I think it's very...
Is that a personal experience from your relationship? Anyway, sorry.
Let's not dive there. I think in every sphere we will always have conflict. Let me quote a Bible verse.
Yeah.
Proverbs chapter 13 verse 10. It says, "Only by pride comes contention, but with the well-advised is wisdom." If you look at the Premier League, the people who handle conflict well are probably the ones who are well advised. They went to the situation. What happened? What did you do? What did you do? How can we solve this problem?
Yeah.
Being emotional is not license for being unethical. I think that's a governing principle of life. So even in our passion, and we do as men's sports. Yesterday we played a football game. We lost. I'm still emotional about it, but I don't have to hate the people who we lost to.
That's right. Yeah.
So I think for the manager, for the players, on an individual level, are you prideful? I think that's the question. Are you so prideful? Do you think you're there? We have the title greatest of all time, but it doesn't give any license for him to think I am more human than someone else.
Yeah.
So I need to crush someone else's rights,
Yeah.
needs. And so for every team, I think it's very important to have the characters. I think there are people who have weaknesses, and that's why we have captains and leaders, especially for the young players, so that they are helped. And in every team where the conflict is managed well, the people can get along. I think we've seen it at City. City, we don't sign quote-unquote big-name players.
Are you kidding me?
We sign people who are willing and ready to work.
Fair enough.
In the manager's eyes, these are people who are ready to work.
Yeah.
These are not people for De Bruyne. It was the same thing. When he came, willing and ready to work. We've seen players who are willing and ready to work.
Yeah.
And so that's why we see the results that we have. If there is any conflict, which there will always be, we've seen documentaries of Pep cussing out of passion,
Yeah.
but it's for the betterment of the team. And I think every team should really embrace it, especially the ethical principles. Something wrong could have happened, but don't crush another player's dignity while at it.
Yeah.
So the things we've seen in the past, insults and racist abuses to players, I think it should not be there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree completely, and I think it's just good to really just wrap that conversation even up there, because with just saying that, in everything that we do, especially for us as believers, right? Yes, we're fans and football fans, and we should do it as if we're actually doing it unto the Lord, with that kind of respect, looking out for others, and those kind of things, and actually having, I think you talked about ethics, start self-leadership and discipline that Josh talked about. I think that really makes a big difference, just going forward, and just for us to be professional in what we do, but also just enjoy the game that we love, but also as we see and learn those lessons from there, apply them to our lives, right? I'll finish off with this. Who do you think is winning the World Cup? Josh?
I love Messi and I'd like to see him win the World Cup. But I think Brazil has a small edge above that. But I'll say 50-50 Brazil or Argentina.
That is not a small edge, that is equal. But I think you're saying Brazil, all right, Kedi?
If Belgium do the right things on the pitch,
Yeah.
they can win. Big if.
That's a big if.
That's a big if.
Big
They
if.
can. They have the personnel.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to see the Hazard from Chelsea.
No, we've not seen him for 4 years.
I
So
think-
he cannot
that's-
just be found.
Yeah, I think that's such a big ask for Belgium.
Yeah, okay, Belgium.
They did well last time, you remember?
Yeah, they did.
Against
well.
Brazil.
Semi-finals, though. Yeah, they actually did well. So, all right, Argentina. I know, Brazil, Belgium.
Tough one, tough one. This is not inspired by the famous octopus. This is probably inspired by the Holy Ghost. But go do your research on it.
Yeah.
I tend to believe it will either be France or Brazil.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the same thing. And I was saying these are really two strong teams. But if I'm to lean against one, Brazil, I would love Messi, like him, to win it at least once. So that it's just confirmed that he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that would be good. But I think Brazil definitely is so strong right now. So yeah, all right, let's see how it goes. We'll definitely come to you with content on World Cup. So please stay tuned to YP Sitam Valley Road. Here for more content, and thank you. I mean, if you like this video, please drop a thumbs up and a comment as well. Tell us about what we're actually really talking about. Talk about it a bit more. We'd love to just read your comments. Subscribe to our channel, and yes, see you next time.
Keep it Red Devils.
Peace out.
Don't support devils.
Amazing. Hey, good job. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot.